coming out loud and clear.
Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, here, he's gonna need this.
Oh, yes.
Thanks,
Should do it.
Red box.
All right. We're all set, folks.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you.
Here and back here.
Is there anybody present?
Oh, how come you can't see anybody?
I just see the four of you.
Oh, so Doug and
Oh,
Ron are,
and who?
Eric- Ron Briggs.
What's
Oh,
up, Ray?
okay. Okay, I just see four. That's fine.
On the other side, the two, Patty McConvey's here and Sarah Adams.
Oh, hello.
Is it David or Dan Newman? David Newman.
Okay.
Who's voting in.
All right, should we get started?
We should get started.
Excellent. So I know this is being recorded so that people who are afar can witness the hearing presentation here in Wilmington. And thank you to those of you who are attending in person. We appreciate it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tim Seymour. I'm the superintendent at Lake Placid Central School. It's very nice to see you all here. You're going to be hearing from me a bit. You're also going to be hearing from our assistant superintendent of business, Mr. Dana Wood. And it's great to be back in Wilmington. I say back because this is a procedural habit of the district to, of course, present to one of the two mainstays of our district in person. However, that had a bit of a cessation due to COVID. So it's the first time in my tenure as superintendent to be presenting the budget here. So I'm
Oh, we were here in Roy's office last year, weren't we?
that was for just a regular meeting.
It's a big-
Yeah.
Suffice to say, it's good to be here.
In the big room.
So if you don't have a copy of the budget packet, they're over there. And if you do, before I go through some of the slides that kind of break down the specific budgeting plan for the year that's being proposed, I would just draw your attention to the introductory letter from myself and from our board president, Daniel Cash. And I feel like this is an important starting point for our conversation because it highlights a few priorities of the district that may not come through in the budgeting presentation itself. So the first priority obviously is that the quality of programming for our students remains exceptional. Our focus on academics and on extracurriculars. And because we're in Wilmington, I will say that the specific views that we have towards supporting the students in Wilmington include ensuring that we have adequate transportation to school events, having a second bus run at the end of the day for our Wilmington athletes and students who participate in programming. So those are some things that are very specific to Wilmington that we maintain in our budget. But beyond the actual programming that we provide for our students, we're also very cognizant of the fact that our enrollment over the past 20 years has nearly halved. And rather than discuss the myriad causes as to why that may be, which another forum would be more than adequate for, I would just say that we have been very cognizant of that as a district, particularly in the last several years. And so last year we actually had a decrease in the levy where people actually paid less in their taxes as a result of Lake Placid's commitment to fiscal austerity during the pandemic. And the year prior, we held the levy flat. And so this is the first year as you're going to see that we are proposing an increase within the allowable range of the tax cap. It's a 3% increase. And over a 3-year period, if you project that out, it's essentially we're proposing a 1% increase over annually over a 3-year period of time. And when you can take into account the rate of inflation and the cost of goods and services, we feel that the board and the administration has done a very good job in guarding the taxpayers' money in consideration of that while maintaining quality programming. To keep our costs down, we've also done a number of things. We've unified our bus runs where our middle, high school, and elementary students are now traveling together in singular runs at the beginning and at the end of the day. We have reduced positions over time through attrition, and we'll continue to do that so long it doesn't impact the quality of instruction in the classroom. That's a 5-year plan that we're on, and we're in year 2 of it. So we were able to reduce a net total of 4 positions last year. When we look at what we had to do additionally to hire. And we're on track to continue downsizing as we can over the next 5 years. And so those are just some of the highlights that you won't necessarily get from the numbers, but it's important to contextualize that. So I'll say all of that and then say that the needs of students, it seems, are becoming greater and greater over the past 5 years. Our teachers are doing an amazing job in servicing the academic, social, emotional, the needs of our students, and trying to ensure that they have the skills to be successful in recognition of the fact that there was essentially a delay in normalcy for a better part of 3 years. And so, you know, before we get into the budgeting, I also just want to say that our staff is tremendous, and we're fortunate that they wear the many hats that they do, and they do it with grace. So that being said, if anyone has questions who is watching from afar, you can email those to our district clerk, Karen Angelopoulos, at lpdistrictclerk@lakeplacidcsd.net. And obviously you need not do that here, but you have that right if you so wish. So when we just look at the nuts and the bolts of the proposed budget, what are we really talking about here for the 23-24 school year? The first is we're proposing a 3.99% increase overall in the budget. This isn't the levy that is going to be proposed to the voters. That's a 3.01% increase. But this is the total amount of increase that we're anticipating to maintain our programs and provide quality instruction for our students. So the net budget, the gross budget is $21,746,602. The total levy, which is the local share provided by the tax base, is $17,177,277. And when we look at our tax rate per thousand, that's a $6.37 per thousand of assessed value rate, which is a 0.18 increase over last year's budget. There are also some other provisions that will be on the ballot for consideration by the voters. The first is our transportation fleet. We're looking to lease 2 passenger buses, an 8-passenger bus, which will provide greater flexibility for our transportation, not requiring bus drivers to transport our students in smaller groups to particular events, which is a benefit. Bus drivers are getting more and more difficult to come by these days. And 1 24-passenger seat bus that's also handicap accessible. So these 2 buses together will be on the ballot just as a way to continue to modernize our fleet. And there are 3 Board of Education seats available, and there are 4 candidates. All of these are 3-year terms. And at the conclusion of this presentation, there will be a list of who those candidates are, and they're listed in order of how they appear on the ballot. And then last but not least, the Wilmington Library also is seeking a $645 increase, and that will be on the ballot as well. Any questions related to this information before I continue? Okay. So when we talk about, you know, how the district funds our instructional programs, 79% comes from property taxes, and the remaining 21% comes from a combination of state aid, which is 15%, federal aid, most notably in the American Rescue Plan as one of the predominant sources, but also we have title funding from the US government. But the American Rescue Plan was passed under the Biden administration during the COVID pandemic, and the district was provided with funds to expend over a 3-year period of time. And we are planning to utilize some of those funds to offset continued expenses in the budget for next year. And then one other note is the appropriated fund balance. So we are anticipating taking from the fund balance, the emergency fund of the district, to offset any additional costs outside of the tax cap to ensure that we stay within the bounds and parameters of the tax cap legislation. Mr. Wood, you want to talk a little about these categories and how they impact our district?
Sure. So as you can see here, this our budget is made up of 3 parts. Administrative, it's the administrators within the district, the running of the district itself. Capital components, that's the infrastructure, that's the physical plant of of the districts, the buildings, the upkeep of the building, any type of debt service, our bus leases, come under that. And then the program components, that is really at the heart of districts' budgets. That is where it has the most direct correlation with the students. That is teachers' salaries, athletics, transportation. Really, how you look at it is the programming component is the things that, the elements that touch the students directly. And as a result, when you have budgets like this, that's in theory where you want most of your money is in the program component, because it is where the students are. That's where their most needs are. So 80%, and this has been for the most part, this is the way it's been for the last 5, 7 years, if not longer, where over 3/4 of our budget is directly related to the programming, because that's where you want it to be. So when you look at, if you want to go to the major components that you can see here, this represents, a comparison between last year and this year. Our programming and capital, those are our biggest, capital being the biggest, 8.64% increase over last year, followed next by programming at 3.73%. And then the administrative component is actually seeing a decrease. And that is largely attributed to, we absorbed an administrative position at the beginning of this year. We had 2 principals at the middle high school, and one left, and the district decided to consolidate and just go with one principal. So as Tim was talking about, as people leave, we look at that position. Do we need to fill it? Do we not fill it? And made the decision that we didn't need to fill that second principal position, and therefore, as a result, you can see a net decrease in this. Capital, you ask, why is that such an increase with the capital budget portion of it? And that is largely attributed to our debt service. We just finished up a capital project a little over a year ago, and the last few years we've been borrowing money on an annual basis to pay for the projects. They're called bands. At the end of last year, that our borrowing bands turned into a bond, a permanent payments for the next 15 years. So we're seeing a jump in our payment schedule from paying just mainly interest on the band to now we're starting to pay off the capital projects. We ended up, the project was originally budgeted for a little over $19 million. At the start of it, our bond is actually a little over $14 million. So over the last couple of years, while we had the bands, we were actually paying down about $1 million a year. So when you look at it, we gave back some money. We didn't spend everything from the capital project, but we're going from like $1.3 million of payments to now at $1.5 million. So that's what attributes largely to that, but that's going to be a set amount for the next 15 years. If you have a home mortgage, that, for these next few years, we're paying more interest than principal, and then that will kind of even itself out and get to the point where then we're paying largely principal, but what we pay each and every year for the next 15 years will stay relatively stable. The other portion of that where we're seeing a little increase, about $35,000, is our bus leasing. We're leasing 2 buses, which we typically do, but the cost for these 2 buses, even though they're smaller, has jumped by about $35,000, $40,000. That's just the world we're in right now in terms of the cost of things. So we're seeing an increase in the cost of our buses as well. So that makes up the capital component of it. When you look at, we have also done a breakdown in terms of the major categories. Where is, what individual categories are our biggest expenses? And as you can see right there, salaries and benefits are the biggest 2. We are a people industry, and that is what drives our 80% of our programming budget. It's right there. the salaries for our staff, their benefits. That is typically where you're going to find the majority of any school district's budget is in that, in those two categories. After that comes our debt service, and then BOCES. BOCES is again a programming thing, cooperative services. You're seeing a little bigger jump there than in the past, and that fluctuates from year to year, and that's all based on the needs of our students. We utilize the educational ed center in Saranac Lake for occupational programming like building trades, cosmetology, auto technology, conservation. But we also have other academic programs like New Vision for health, or we used to be gaming. This year they added an education New Vision program. As well as we're currently using an alternative ed program through BOCES. So these are services that we work in conjunction with other districts. We can't do it ourselves, so we go through BOCES to provide these services to meet, try to meet the needs of all of our students. And then you can see technology and professional development. Over the last 3 years, we've made a concerted efforts to upgrade our technology. And you can see that we're looking at spending about $225,000 for technology. So those are the major categories. And the basic, how did we get here type of a scenario. As you know, inflation is a little higher than it was 2 years ago. It came in at the end of this past year about 6.5%. We as districts, public school districts, we are capped at 2%. That was passed back in 2012, the property tax cap. So basically the way the law stipulates is the lesser of everything. If it was lower than 2%, then the cap would be lower than 2%. So we can't have a budget of 6.5%. State says we have to cap it at 2%. But then you say, well, geez, if it's capped at 2%, why is your actual increase 3.01%, higher than the 2%? It's because the state then allows districts to have exclusions. So those exclusions are our debt service. So what we pay in debt each year, we can then put into the formula to determine our tax levy. So even though the state says 2%, districts that have debt like us, we can then offset that and increase our levy. And it's almost hand in hand in terms of how much we pay in debts. It almost equals what additional we can then borrow from the taxpayers in the tax cap. If we had no debt, then we would be set at 2%. We had zero debt and nothing to exclude, then we would be capped at 2%. But the state did put allocations in there. It's a formula and all that. It's not just straight 2%. That 2%. There's also another number called the economic growth factor that changes from year to year. I couldn't even tell you how they determine it. The state says, here you go. This is the growth factor. That number is higher this year than it was last year. So you throw that into the formula, and that's how we're able to get 3.01%, even though the cap is at 2%.
Okay, so in terms of some of the big kind of ticket items that are going to be encompassed programmatically for this budget, there are some pieces that factor into it. I referenced earlier that we are looking to utilize our unrestricted fund balance, our emergency fund, to offset increases that go beyond what we will be asking from the voters under the allowable tax cap. So initially, our plan is to expend up to $1 million from the unrestricted fund balance to ensure that we can stay within the cap. And as referenced, we also are looking to utilize those federal funds of $204,000 from the American Rescue Plan and our rural schools network that we have. But when we look at programming itself and sort of the direction of the district and some of our priorities that impact students, we have a strategic plan that we're working to finalize. And that strategic plan is a 5-year focus for the district around 3 core areas: promoting academic excellence, innovation, and well-being for our students and our community. Speaking of our community, last year we launched our community schools program, and the focus and goal of that is to increase the amount of time that our students and families spend in our district facilities, provide greater cohesion with our community partners, and just increase that sense of identity and connection in all the communities that make our district special. Mr. Clark, Keith Clark, is our coordinator and does a tremendous job in promoting those goals. We recently started a program called the Adirondack Woods Program, and our students in high school learn wilderness survival skills. They go into the woods for 5 days and 4 nights, and they learn everything from trailblazing to setting a fire. And it's been very successful in its first year. We're looking to continue to draw attention to that which makes our region special, obviously the park. We have continued technological improvements that we're putting into our classrooms. A lot of the jobs that are viable for our students in the future are tech dependent. And so increasing accessibility to that technology is crucial. As referenced, the buses are also on there. And then something that hasn't been referenced yet, but is really quite important, is that the school and the district has, over the past several years, made a commitment to ensure that no student goes hungry in the district while they're in our doors. And the board has continued their support for that practice. And so school meals, the full cost of those for all students are included in our general fund, which is something that is extraordinary and aberrant compared to what you might expect from districts across the country. Our big priorities: continue doing the things that our students and staff, I'll go back here, I apologize. Our students and staff have come to be successful for our quality programs. We have students who get dual enrollment credit at the high school level that they can take into a college program. We have AP classes that our students are allowed to take. We have many different athletic programs and extracurricular activities for our students. Our community schools program continues to generate success with our community partners and with our families. We are looking at implementing a way for us to keep track of the academic growth and opportunities for our students in math, and science, and in English. And there is a testing program that will follow a student from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, so we can identify the areas that we can lean into further for a given student. And this really allows us to give them a more individualized education. And we're excited to be implementing that across the board in our district next year. I referenced our strategic plan goals. And so next year is slated to be the first year of that. We're very excited. Continue to look at upgrading our technology and infrastructure, as well our facilities and any deferred maintenance. We have a newer building in our elementary school, but then we have a rather aged but truly beautiful and iconic building in our middle high school that will always need maintenance as buildings age. And then we have a variety of community initiatives that we're in the process of participating in. Included in those is trying to get a new food pantry for the Lake Placid community. The present food pantry is not a sustainable solution. And the Shipman Youth Center, which is adjacent to the middle high school, we have space available for a new food pantry and thrift shop for the community of Lake Placid to take advantage of, and for our students to then help to volunteer and increase the spirit of volunteerism, which is something that is a priority for the district as well. There's a serious daycare issue across our nation, but regionally as well. And we're in talks with the town of North Elba to try and get a daycare program that's affordable for residents of Lake Placid, North Elba, and Wilmington. And also for people who work within that economy to provide high quality daycare at a very affordable cost for children who are aged 6 months to 3 years, which is really a demographic that there's not a lot of support for. So those are early talks, but we're very excited to see that partnership happening with our regional municipalities. We continue to be a lead for gold community, as in concert with the Olympic Regional Development Authority and our municipal partners, just trying to promote green practices any way we can in our purchasing and in our facilities. And affordable housing continues to be a priority for the district, and we've supported several affordable housing projects through participation with the Homestead Development Corporation's board to ensure that more units are available for families trying to continue to live in the community. And then I can get rid of that. Let's see if we go next. All right. If I don't touch that, it's going to go away. There we go. Last year we had a graduation rate of 88%. The year prior, I believe, was 89%, but we typically hover anywhere from 87 to 90%. We're always above the state average. We do our best to ensure that our students graduate and that they have plans in front of them. This is just an illustration of some of the programs that we've done this year through our community schools program. We've opened up our gym for student participation on several days throughout the week, and on weekends when it's not usually used. Our students have gone to see musicals in Burlington. We held community classes that were very successful, where members of the community were able to come in for free and learn how to cook, learn how to dance, how to paint. We've partnered with the 1980 rink to have the 1932 rink to have morning skate sessions for all of our students. And there's a myriad of other programs through our community schools that we're very proud of. We continue to partner with St. Agnes to provide universal pre-K for all Wilmington and Lake Placid students. So that's a great program and a good partnership for us. These are some pictures of the Woods program that I referenced earlier from some of the students that went on the trip this year. We have excellent arts programs. These are some of the pictures that were done by Lake Placid students that were put in the Lake Placid Center for the Arts regional show earlier this year. And the lower picture is a picture of our annual Christmas concert at the elementary school. This is just some pictures of our students who were in the wilderness, the conservation program at BOCES. So we do send our students, looking at next year, nearly half of our students who are eligible to attend career and tech education classes in our district are opting to go down that path as opposed to entering the workforce or college. So the trades are really making a boom, and that's great because there's opportunity there and there's need within the regional community. This year, our students went to Washington, D.C., thanks in partnership to a very generous donation from the Lucy family. But it's an annual trip that our students take. Unfortunately, COVID did not allow that to happen. And so 3 different groups of students, grade levels, were able to attend multiple trips this year. And we're happy to say that everyone was caught up in attending this important part of their experience. Our athletic facilities are second to none. Districts who travel here to compete often say we love coming to Lake Placid because there's just nothing like competing on, the cordial fields and the Marshall grounds. It's a pretty beautiful setting. And our students do an outstanding job and have some of the highest academic performance and sportsmanship that you can get from the CVAC and MVAC. So we're proud of our students. And that's sort of the explanation with regards to some of the programming we're anticipating for next year and the costs associated with those. As I referenced, we do have 4 candidates for 3 vacancies on our board: Ryan St. Louis, Douglas Lansing, Nathan Amaker, and John Hopkinson. And then with regards to the actual voting, election day is May 16th from 2 to 9. There's going to be voting in this space, and there'll also be voting at the Lake Placid Elementary School cafeteria. That's the presentation portion of the meeting. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question about administration. So when John moved out, was Tammy left last year, and now John is there, and John is he going back in to be the athletic director? And are you going to look for someone to have the responsibility that Teresa has? Because she's got it's a lot for one person to be running the show. It's not just John, because he's separating himself with athletics and all that. Are you ready to? Are you looking for someone that can be another Teresa?
Not another Teresa, but a support to offset that. Yes. So John is going to be stepping away from his role as dean at the end of the year and as athletic director too. So we've canvassed for a dean of students AD to follow in John's position. We anticipate we're through the interview process now, so we hope to have someone appointed that position in the next 1 or 2 board meetings. So we are very sensitive to that fact that there's a lot on the middle high school plate, and so having a dean of students to offset that, and then also someone to take over for John when he leaves the position at the end of the year. John will stay in the teaching realm for another year at least, and so he'll be able to help transition the new athletic director in that way too.
But my question is, Teresa's the only one that can just put discipline in place. Let's say-
Well, she's the only one who, right now, in the middle high school, a dean of students can't suspend, but they can do other discipline. So,
So
our-
we're looking for somebody that, I mean, because you're gonna have to come up with some big bucks to fill that spot, I would think.
which spot?
Well, the one that's for the dean of students and, AD, if you're replacing John, John's going back into, is he going back to teach? Or
Yes.
is he- Okay, so he's doing math again, which is,
Yes.
okay,
So, it's, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a wash, but we don't anticipate a substantial increase in the administrative budget as we go.
No, the dean/AD position will remain in the LPA contracts, so they will be not considered an administrator. So that salary will not be in the administrative side because they're in the LPA.
so will it lessen the burden that Teresa has had to take on by being running the ship pretty much in that high school? So, I mean,
That's the intent, is to
the-
provide additional administrative support. But we're not putting all our eggs in that basket, as it were. I mean, Sarah Allen is also finishing her administrative program. And so once she's certified, she'll have the capacity to assist with evaluations and discipline as well. That's a direction we could be going down as well. So
So then you're looking for a CFE. Yes, CFE. Somebody you have to replace.
that's a hypothetical, but that would, it'd just be, in that example,
Yeah.
Sarah would maintain that role, but would also have the credentials to do additional things to offset. Sure.
It's a tough job to be in that office. Teresa, what is it? Sorry.
Yeah, you get no arguments from us.
I don't think people realize. That was my question. I'm hoping that. that's gonna be very well done. That that Sarah isn't, like, I mean, she actually is still working in special ed and she's got her fingers all over the place, too. It's going on.
No disagreement from us.
Again, no argument.
Keep preaching, Pat.
Nothing.
Any other questions or comments related to the presentation?
Think I'll take my budget book home and not bother you with questions until I've had a chance to take a look, but I was enjoying the presentation and I appreciate everyone making the trip down.
I have one more question.
Go for it.
It has to do with both. Okay, so it seems like there's been a lot of play, the increase in our kids going to both, which I think is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
They've been learning, and then I know a lot of them are going on to college and getting a job, which is so exciting because BOCES is taking, but before it was that look of BOCES. And now it's BOCES. It's that whole the New Visions program and the conservation program, National Resource, all those things that are we putting more money into pushing kids to maybe really seriously look at this, the New Visions program is fabulous. And with the education, I'm not familiar with that one, but that's brand new. Is that brand new this year? Or this
It
Yeah,
is.
brand new.
Yeah, they
They
just launched
just came out well, they started in September. Yeah, brand new.
But to have our high school kids excited about going to BOCES and not look at it the way it used to be with the 10 years.
Well, I think part of when what Tim was talking about is we had that ADK Woods program,
Yeah.
which isn't educational in the sense of book work, but it's meant to put kids out into the wilderness and learn about that. We also have another program that we started this year called Stream. Again, giving kids an alternative setting in our surroundings. And, part of that, the goal is to open those eyes to kids that might not be thinking about that world at an earlier age and not waiting until their junior year to go and do building trades or whatever. They're seeing it in 8th grade and 9th grade. So that's the conversation is happening earlier for just the very, reasons you pointed out, to expose them to more things at an earlier age. And hope, and if it, hey, I love this so much and I want to continue and go to BOCES for natural conservation or building trades or whatever the case.
I know I came in late.
That's okay.
I'm actually here for the next meeting, but. My daughter goes to the elementary school, and I'm the treasurer for the Village Elite Classic. We're actually approaching the BOCES program because it's getting harder and harder to find people to work in the electric industry and the wastewater treatment and water filtration industry. Nobody goes to do that anymore. And it's a trade, and plumbers are like non-existent. There are trades that are out there that I don't think people know about, and I know our police department is actually going to approach I think the high school about
That's
getting some interns this summer. So I wasn't here for the whole presentation, but I think what the school board is phenomenal. I love the school. I think they're doing a great job. Very happy. My daughter gets a great education. Super psyched about it. But just to kind of latch on to what you said, I think the BOCES program is phenomenal.
Any questions from email, Karen?
This presentation.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for coming out, and hope you come and support on the 16th and have a safe drive home. Thanks, Colleen.
Colleen.